The Emerald Knight, Chapter 17. So that was awesome, Morgan gushed when he caught up with Clint halfway to his dressing room. What the hell is wrong with me? Clint wailed. I need a drink. I know. Here, I grabbed the bottle, but I didn't get any glasses. Morgan held up the bottle of elven wine he had snatched from the table. I was in a hurry. Clint took it from him, popped the cork without the use of a screw or any tools, and held it to his lips. Morgan watched him in silence until he feared he might drown, then put his hand over Clint's to force him to lower the bottle. Tears of frustration leaked down Clint's face, and he growled, his breath hitched, and he rubbed at his eyes with the arm that Morgan wasn't controlling. I'm a goddamn monster, he said quietly, and Morgan rolled his eyes. I'm not going to beat you for saving my goddaughter, he explained, so don't even think about it. You did the right thing, and you scared the absolute shit out of those better-than-you rich bitch types down there. That was one of the best things I've ever seen. Morgan, I ripped a guy's eye out at a children's birthday party, he yelled, and slumped against the wall. Morgan let go of the bottle, and he took another drink. That sounds like a villain in a bedtime story. I'm the fucking boogeyman. Bruana's too little to know what happened, Glenn, Morgan explained gently. She thinks it's a game. She's just here for the presents and the cake. She's not gonna remember this. With a spoon! Glenn shrieked. Seriously, that was amazing, Morgan laughed. Horrenda thought so too. You're gonna get the best sex of your life. Oh God, Glenn's eyes darted open. I think I hit my wife. Theseus, I can't be one of those people, Morgan. Oh, she knows it wasn't you, and she doesn't care. She's resilient. Morgan shrugged. Clint slumped to the floor and took another drink. Oh, God, what if I do it again? What if I hit Bruana? Then I'll kill you myself, and we'll be done with it. Morgan snickered. How? Clint asked, as if he didn't understand he was joking. I've tried, Morgan. Nothing cuts through this armor. I should leave. I should run away and live in the wilderness away from them. They shouldn't have to deal with this. This is too much to ask of anyone. You got some blood on your face, Morgan told him. Do like this. He mimicked rubbing his face on his sleeve. Clem began to cry in earnest, and Morgan stared down at him, trying to come up with some sort of plan to contain the outburst. He wasn't used to watching grown men cry, as few people are, and his mind was drawing a blank. He stood there, with his hands on his hips, in thought, before he stepped forward and bent at the waist to pat Clem on the head. Shh, he said, and Clem folded into himself. He brought his knees to his chest and buried his face in them. Morgan drew back his hand and watched before he admitted, I don't know what the hell you want from me. Just leave me alone, Clem commanded. No, that sounds like a terrible idea. Morgan sighed and stood. That sounds like a disaster. You're pretty dumb at the best of times, so if I leave you alone while you're all whatever you are right now, I'm afraid you'll do something particularly drastic that you'll be unable to take back. I'm not going to let that happen. Shut up, Morgan, Clint said to his knees. I'm not going to do anything. Clint, I am literally begging you to get your shit together. Morgan stared down at him. Because I don't know how to force you to do that. Just leave me alone! He screamed into his knees. Are you going to run off into the forest and become a wild man? Morgan asked, trying to figure out some way to curb his outbursts. No, if I... Clint sat back and let his head rest against the wall. If I lose Bruana, I'll actually go mad. I'll stop fighting it. I'll let it do what it wants. Will you please wipe your face? Morgan asked. I'd do it, but I don't want some random assassin's blood on my cape. Having the blood of your enemies all over you is going to aggravate the damn rock. You're still glowing. Right. Clem made grabby hands at him, and Morgan pulled him to his feet by the bottle. I was going to go wash my face and change clothes and everything. I need to look presentable. I want to give Bruana a present. What'd you get her? Anilla is willing to pass on the draconic magic that has been in her family since the dawn of time. I will give her the blessing of the High Elves, which will manifest itself as a mark on her neck, and she will always be accepted into the Crystal City and protected by our magics, Morgan said proudly, and Clint stared at him like he was a madman. You want to tattoo my baby? he asked, incredulous. What? No, you idiot, no. It's not a tattoo. It's a magical symbol of protection and association with the High Elves. Because we're a magical race. We're so magical and rare that most people don't believe we exist. Morgan couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was beyond insulted, and if it had been anyone else, he probably would have hit them. You can't just put symbols on people. That's... No, don't do that. Clint turned and began walking again towards his room. I am totally going to do that, and it is a high goddamn honor. Morgan caught up to him quickly. What the hell did you get her, that you project a gift like that? Oh! Clint's expression brightened. I got her a horse. I'm giving her an Amber's foal. They'll grow together, and she'll have a mighty warhorse. You think a horse is a better gift than eternal magical protection? He was so shocked, he stopped dead in the middle of a stride. Do I think a little girl would rather have a baby horse than a tattoo she didn't pick? Clint arched an eyebrow. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain to you why that would be the case, but yes, I do think that. Plus it's a war horse, and I think she's gonna be a warrior. Kid loves violence. I don't know why. That's not just her. All kids are like really energetic and mean. Yeah, you're supposed to teach her not to do that, Morgan explained. What kind of hypocritical bullshit would that be? Clint asked as he stepped into his dressing room and pulled his dress tunic off over his head. He wiped his face on it and threw it down, then moved to the basin to scrub off any trace of the blood. Hey, I know I just carved out a man's eye at your party, and I murdered your grandpa in cold blood, but don't hit people. Why don't you ever listen to me? Morgan asked. Oh, God. Clint moaned and opened the wardrobe. I'm not asking that rhetorically. Morgan leaned against the wall and crossed his arms. I told you to leave Xandra, you didn't listen. I told you not to touch that stone, you didn't listen. I told you not to kill any gods, you didn't listen. I am telling you now to curb these violent tendencies in your daughter, and you are refusing to listen. Why? I have given you nothing but good advice for centuries, and you continue to ignore me, which is strange because you seem to blindly follow anyone else. I am listening. I learned my lesson. I just wish that you would wait until she's old enough to decide whether or not she wants something like a magic tattoo thing. He pulled an almost identical tunic over his head and fastened the belt around his waist. And I just think that maybe I'm not the one to impart that lesson. The world is a scary, violent place, Morgan, full of monsters and danger, and she's a powerful person, the heir to an empire. People are going to try to hurt her. Maybe to kill her. She needs to be strong and violent. I don't think that's a bad thing. Someone just tried to kill her. He went to the vanity and sat to try to fix the mess he had created when he wiped off half his makeup to remove the blood. Hey, Morgan, he asked. Yes, what? Morgan was still leaning against the wall, but now his eyes were closed as he tried to process everything Clint had said. Why do you think that there were only 2 assassins, and they only targeted Orinda and Bruana? Do you think it's because they know I can't be killed, or because they think I'm not important enough to murder? Of those 2 options, Morgan opened one eye and studied Clint, then closed it and went back to leaning. Not important enough. You've worked hard to establish yourself as a new person, a new identity. No one knows that you were the Emerald Knight, until everything happened. You had that damn armor on every time you went outside. No one knew your face. And you tried real hard to keep your face and identity out of the public eye. I think everyone sort of saw you as Orinda's husband or Bruana's father, until today. No one is going to underestimate you again. Their faces when you got that arrow killed me. I wish I could have immortalized the moment. I would expect the next assassin to target you, since you're feeling so left out. Thanks, that makes me feel a lot better, Clint huffed. After a beat, he asked, Why did you follow me? Because someone needed to, and Orinda wasn't going to just run off and leave her child. I agree, this should be her job, but, and this is something I want you to understand, she does not, and you should not, have the luxury of breaking down anymore. He stood and gestured at Clint in annoyance. You aren't a person anymore, Clint. You're someone's father. You can't keep doing this. Bruana needs you. This is something you do in the middle of the night once you put her to bed. You cannot lose yourself again. You cannot give in to that thing again. I didn't mean to do anything. It was all instinct. I saw the arrow and it told me someone was trying to hurt him, and it was right. Clint stood as well and clutched at his chest, which still glowed with a pulsing green light. It was right! Someone was trying to hurt them, and more people will try to hurt them, and I have to protect them! Clint, you're screaming, and I need you to stop. Morgan lifted both arms and looked steadily into his eyes. Clem was the first to look away, and the light dimmed. "You're right," he sighed. "I know you're right. It's just it loves Bruana. It wants to protect her too, and when it tells me things like that, it's always difficult to control, but when it talks like that, I don't want to control it. I agree with it. I want to protect her." "We all want to protect her," Morgan agreed. "But you can't give in and then have a breakdown. You can't do it. It'll drive everyone crazy." Clint closed his eyes and clutched his chest and tried to calm down. He counted his breathing, felt his lungs inflate, growing larger and larger until he thought they would burst from his chest. Then he counted again, feeling them deflate, shrinking until he had to draw breath or die. He stood like that for some time while Morgan watched him with interest until the light faded to nothingness and he was able to meet his friend's eye. "Okay," he managed a shaky smile. "Let's head back."